Kenny here with Gardening Simplified. I'm out here in my workshop today, and we're going to have a little bit of a different topic. I've been planning to do this video a long time, and this is on Harvest Right. Is this a buyer's beware? You can take it however, but I'm going to give you all this information. Okay, I'm going to start out with, I've actually got two Harvest Right machines, and they're both the later design. And normally you can tell them this is the large, and they've got your little display is kind of like it's separate from the front. Used to be on my original, it was all the way smooth and part of this front panel, so it wasn't like a separate cutout. But anyway, what I'm going to talk about is, and I see a lot of complaints on different groups about their Harvest Right. In fact, I had somebody decided to rant on one of my videos, and I told them it wasn't the place. I understand that they've had that, but you know, when you go whining to everybody else because you have a situation that doesn't turn out right or not to your satisfaction, don't start trying to sour everybody to get them upset with the company because you didn't do what's necessary. And this video is going to be about taking back control of your rights and to get satisfaction through your warranty through Harvest Right. And plus, I'm going to touch on some other things that are going to be there in the process. But I'm going to start out with this video. First thing we're going to say is that, like I say, I had a sour experience. It took me about 18 months to get my machine replaced. It was having problems, certain things. A lot of it was created by Harvest Right. Now, I've got a background that I was in the automotive field and automotive technician and service manager. So I worked around warranties. I worked around equipment. I was certified in refrigeration systems. And at one time, I even worked as a engineer. So I'm familiar in all these areas, which gives me an advantage over some. And maybe some of that advantage will lay over to you. But like I say, I did have a sour experience. And I also want to say is I enjoy my Harvest Right machine. Yes, the original machine did give me a lot of problems, and it started out from the day one when they shipped it to me. And like I say, I do recommend Harvest Right. Through all this, there are problems dealing with their customer service. I think they have a training situation to where they've got a lot of people that aren't trained properly, and that's part of the problem, and that's what I'm going to help you deal with. And also, I'm going to say in the description of the video, there is an affiliate link. I am an affiliate for Harvest Right, have been virtually since I've got mine. Not that I've made any money off it or very little, but if you are interested in purchasing Harvest Right accessories or Harvest Right, you can use that link, and they give me a few cents or a few dollars depending on what your purchase is. So now that we've gone through that, we're going to start out with one thing that's most important when you do this. And I'm going to walk to my other machine. When you start dealing with a problem, or maybe we should go back to the first. The most important things I'm going to suggest is anytime you have an interaction with Harvest Right, whether it be by phone, by emails, keep track of them. Save all your emails. I move all mine, and I didn't start doing this off the bat because you never expect to have a problem. I mean, you feel like that a company is selling a product and they want that person to be satisfied because word of mouth is the most important way to gain business. And you get a bad reputation from somebody, and you can advertise all you want, and it's going to affect it. Now, Also, record your phone calls. You know, if you have another phone, turn the video on and record the phone call. Show the number that they're calling from, or if it says Harvest Right when it shows there, and record it, because a lot of times they'll say something and then they'll kind of backtrack because maybe they said something they shouldn't. I'm not going to say that's what happened. And also know that your warranty is a contract. Whenever you bought this unit, you had a warranty, and you have a 1 year, and then you have I don't know, a couple extra years on certain parts of it. But that first year, they're responsible for it, and you make sure that they're responsible for it. If you don't, you start whining because they didn't do what they said they were supposed to, that's your fault. And one thing I'm going to always say is be respectful. Don't get ugly with them, because that's not going to encourage them to make that extra effort. You can be firm, and if they don't like it, you just put them in line. Don't let them tell you how to act whenever you're doing this. You're your person. You got certain things, but like I say, don't act disrespectful. Don't start cussing and getting angry and ugly with them. Keep your cool. Anytime you're talking to them and it doesn't seem like they're taking care of business, affirm. Make sure that you affirm to them that their responsibility. You want to instill that in them, that they're responsible for fixing that, not let them push it off. Okay. And whenever you work on your machine, or whenever you're dealing with them because you have a problem, you're going to have to download the log files. I'm going to show you how to download those log files, which they'll send you information that they can tell you how. But I'm going to also show you how to save those to your computer, so you keep all that information in one spot, so that if it ever comes time that you need it, you're going to have it. Okay, and if you detect double talk from the person you're dealing with, ask to speak to the supervisor. And double talk is they'll tell you some kind of nonsense. And usually, if you pay attention, don't believe everything they say, because a lot of them tend to, the technicians, they don't tend to have enough training, and they try to tell you some BS that's not necessary. I've had them, tell me to do something, maybe run a batch file when I get a machine back and it's not doing right, and it's the refrigerant isn't right or something like that, and I'll end up doing it in the end. But I really do stress the fact that they're wasting time as far as on repairing this and getting it sent back in, because certain things. And another thing is to plan to work on your machine, and if you can't work on it, because it's going to save downtime and it's going to save headaches if little things that need to be done, if you can do them. Now, some things are too complicated, and we'll go through a lot of the repairs I had to do, and being with my technician background and stuff, and I have all the equipment and tools to do these things. It does make a difference, but don't be intimidated by a lot of this stuff. We always want to believe companies are moral and will look out for their customers, but it's not like you automatically think they're not, because the stories you hear, because your problem might be simple and they might can deal with it, but keep records of it even so, because it might turn into something like that. And I guess I'll tell you what to expect, because you should expect to have to do some minor repairs. You need to know how to run a water batch, and I'll kind of go through that. The downloading of the file logs, I'll go through that. The little bit of repairs, like I say, some of them simple, some of them a little more complicated. And if you don't have that mechanical mind or technical mind, then definitely you want to let them know that up front. Don't just push it off because you're afraid that you're going to tear something up, because if they have you do the work and something gets tore up, then they're responsible for it. And make sure they know that. And expect to wait on a scheduled call from a technician, because that's the way it's going to work. You'll have somebody and they're in the technical or customer service department, and they'll tell you a few things, and it's always the same thing. You're going to need a log file, run a water batch. They'll kind of get basic information. Sometimes they won't listen to you. When you get somebody that's not listening to you because you tell them something specific that they should pay attention to, ask for their supervisor. Don't waste time talking to them. I've had situations where I start out with a technician that starts telling me to do some repairs. I do them, and then I come back and I catch them in a lie. I mean, it's not like I'm not listening to them, because I'm a good listener. So once you catch them in a lie, you don't want to deal with that person. That they're not honest, and if they don't know what's going on, then you don't want to deal with them either. And we'll go through some of that as far as my experiences. But anyway, we're going to start off, and this might be lengthy. I don't know how long. It's basically a rant for me, but I'm not wanting to get ugly about it. I'm just wanting you to know what I went through, how I got through it, and where I got to where I am today. Okay, where we're going to start out is we're going to start out with downloading log files. Now, I have a thumb drive here, USB drive, whatever you want to call it. Now, I'm going to tell you, they recommend it being less than 16 gigabytes. And I'm going to explain there's a reason for that. Now, this is a 4 gigabyte. Most of my others are 32, but I did have a 4 around, and that's really helpful because, like I say, it's got to be under 16 gigabytes. It doesn't have to be big. This 4 gigabytes, this is fine. What you're going to do, you have this USB port here. You're going to plug this in while your machine is off. And then what you're going to do is you're going to flip this machine on. And when this comes up, and I notice these newer ones are a little bit slower to come up, and it starts initializing, it's going to download the log files on this hard drive or on this USB drive. And it doesn't take very long, but it's just a matter of waiting for it to happen. And while we're waiting, another thing, you want to make sure that you have updated software. A lot of times they have problems. They don't know when they put out the software that they're going to have these problems in certain circumstances. So they'll update the software. Now, when your machine starts up here in the corner, it's going to give you your software version. And you can go to Harvestrite's website, and you can go to support, and you can see what the latest software is, and you can upload it. Now, tech told me when I was in the midst of this, now it's downloading these log files. He told me that a lot of times when they first put out a new firmware for the machine, the software that it operates on, sometimes they have issues with it. So he says it's always best not to just load right away. Now, I have had Harvestrite send me email saying there's an update of software, but like I say, and I had talked to the technician in the midst of a problem, and he said, well, wait, and he knew that they were having a few issues with that software. So anyway, what this is doing is it's just downloading a file that shows every time this machine has run, any errors during it. Like sometimes my power goes off, and of course when my power goes off, my machine will show a count of how many outages it's had during that batch. But that's all in the batch log files too. It'll tell the temperature for every so often. It tells what the mTORs or the mTORs are vacuum, how much vacuum it's pulling. The mTORs is just, I guess, a more accurate way for them to read that vacuum. And like I say, the temperature of the machine, everything that's going on, and you can kind of read it, but you can't. The way it's set up, you gotta really know what you're looking at. But each one of these is a batch. It's loading, and this machine, when I got this machine finally, this when they replaced it, and we'll go through and explain how I finally got them to replace it after a year and a half. They told me one thing about it, and I went in and checked the log file straight off and kept the record of the original log file when I first got the machine. That way, if I had a problem, I could come back and I could come back and deal with that. Same thing with my other machines. So I've got a log file for each of those machines. And this seems to download the log files, takes a lot longer than the old software or the electronics that it had, but that's fine. We'll just wait. I can ramble on a little bit more, I think. But anyway, that's an important thing. So if you think that you're going to be dishonest with them too, and you're going to say, okay, I run that water batch, and they can see if that water batch was run. You know, of course, they're going to ask you for a picture of the inside. And even if you've had it serviced more than once and you want to try to send them an old picture, they're going to know that water batch wasn't run. So be upfront whenever you're dealing with them. You don't want them to lie to you. Don't lie to them. Don't over exaggerate the problem. Don't get hung up on something and not listen to what they're telling you, because that's why I say pay close attention to what they're saying, because you want to know that information that they're giving you. And if you get a good technician, and they do have some good ones, if you get a good technician, then he'll be able to point you in the right direction right away, and you'll be in good shape. Well, I'm going to pause here and let this finish loading that. Okay, finish that, and it's loaded up. Your name would be there if you put a name in. Yeah, it says if it's time to change oil for Premier pump owners, which this is, I don't have a Premier pump. But this is your firmware up here, the software version up here. And now, once you're finished, you just pull this out. Now, if you was loading a new software version, what you'd do is you would download it onto your USB drive from Harvest-Right, and maybe if I think I'll show you how to do that. But anyway, then with the machine off, you would take and I'm going to go ahead and turn this back off. There's no need to be on. But with the machine off, you would stick your USB drive in here, and then you would turn it on, and it would automatically detect that there's that new software on this, and it would start downloading it. But like I say, don't get over 16 gigabytes. Now, while we're here, we're going to talk about a little bit for us taking care of this machine, or, well, we're going to turn it back on too. Then, as far as once you run a batch, and a lot of people would worry about pulling their door gasket and stuff, but it is recommended to dry this out once you run a batch. And what you would do is you could take this out. Now, I can handle this normally with 2 hands, but I take this out, and then you have a plug here on the back. You would unplug it, you could set it aside and dry it out. Now, I normally just take it out, and then I'll dry out the inside of my chamber and then put it back in. But the reason why I wanted to take this out is if you're wanting to run a vacuum test because your mTORs are not pulling down low enough, and they used to say below 515 minutes. Now they've changed that up because they've changed their firmware to where it won't set off bells and whistles if it doesn't. But what you would do is you would take that out, and to run that test, and I run this test sometimes for myself, you'd hit customize, or no, you wouldn't. Let's get out of there. You'd hit your leaf up here at the top, and you can turn your vacuum on right here. It says vacuum. All you got to do is turn it on. It'll start timing, and you can see your mTORs right here, the reading on it. Now this should go down to 500 within 15 minutes. So you can watch this, and when it gets there, you can see if this is in specs. Now, like I say, they changed a lot of things on their firmware, because last time they said, I think they might have said if it went as high as 1500 mTORs, which that doesn't sound like near enough vacuum. It'd take longer to take moisture out. I'd worry more and stuff like that. But you can tell if you have a problem normally, but you want to check to see if your mTORs, if you have a problem where it's not drawing enough vacuum, and you do have, and mine wasn't changing because my valve wasn't closed, but if you have a problem to where it's not achieving vacuum and your valve's closed and everything, you can manually turn that pump on and go that way. So that is one test. Like I say, you need to know how to work on your own machine. Okay, now we're going to start with my rant. You want to call it a rant. Like I say, my problem started when I first got my machine. And you'd think, well, that's definitely a bad way to start out, and it was. It wasn't configured. They didn't ever put the serial number in. And so I had to call them. They said, we'll go in. They said, change the serial number from anything but 1000. So it was 1001. They didn't say you put the serial number in from the back and that was on the machine. You know, they just wanted to just change that. So it's, like I say, that's kind of a halfway telling someone how to do something, in my opinion. I think they should have said, well, the serial number's on the back, it needs to be entered, and that kind of thing. But anyway, entered it, and then I could start using it. And of course, they tell you run certain kind of batch in the start and this and that. And we ran a few batches, but we ended up having vacuum problems. And first thing they say was check the door seal, and you're going to check around here, and you're going to make sure you have contact, because it's going to have a little dark spot all the way around that it's making contact. And we did that. They said pull the seal out, reposition it, and we'd run that test on the vacuum, and they ended up sending me another door seal. Okay. Well, it ran and it held enough vacuum to go ahead and go through the thing, but it always had a problem that it was just barely pulling vacuum, or maybe not quite enough. So on the mTOR. So what they ended up doing down the road, whenever this started coming into a bigger thing, they found out that their harness was leaking where it goes to your tray holder, where that line goes through. It wasn't sealed good with epoxy, and it was leaking some vacuum there, and that was what was causing the problem. And they said, well, you could reseal it with some epoxy, with some silicone, or you could they said they could send another harness and you could replace it. A lot of people were intimidated by replacing it. Well, I said, send me a harness, the new harness, because I didn't want to patch something. I wanted it to be right. So they sent me the harness. I replaced it. And And also what was happening was I was getting cracks in my door. It was, and it was getting worse and worse. Little fine cracks. At first it started out, you can only see them whenever the vacuum was on it. Then it started to where they were visible when it wasn't. And it took an act of Congress for them to replace the door. They said, oh, that isn't any problem, you know. and the first thing I say is, know your rights on your warranty. And they just, if they say it's cosmetic, that's when they're telling you baloney, because anytime you have cracking, and if it's early on and it's steadily getting worse, what's going to happen over time, you know? So anyway, they did send me the door for that machine, and I replaced it. Everything was fine there. Once they sent me this harness, run a vacuum test, and boy, the vacuum just pulled down. I mean, it went down to like 155 mTors or something like that, really quick. And I said, oh, great. I said, this is going to really work good. And so I started running my first batch. It went through the cool down stage and to where it was supposed to continue, and the button wouldn't push. The screen wouldn't work. I was trying to push continue, and nothing was happening. And so naturally I said, well, the electronics is locked up. So I turned the machine off, and I turned it back on, and the screen come up, but it was locked up still. And so I turned it back off and waited about 10 seconds, turned it back on, and the screen didn't come on. You could see a green light inside where it was getting electricity. It was powering up, but the screen didn't come on. It was blank. So of course I called them back. They sent me a new screen, and I said, well, is it just the screen or is it the controller for it? And they sent me a new screen and controller, and let me just get that. And so what I had to do was take it apart. Now this is, for me, it was kind of a simple job because I've worked with electronics and computers and stuff and built my own in the past, so it wasn't that bad. But I had to replace this, and you've got to be really careful when you're replacing circuit boards, because just handling it like I am now, static electricity can destroy these circuits. So you have to really be careful. Now, they didn't say any of that stuff whenever it come to replacing it, but being that I had worked on computerized cars for a lot of years and went to a lot of the training, I had learned that. But anyway, so I put these in, and I powered it up, and went to push the buttons, and it started cooling down, and then a little bit later the screen went blank. You know, and I said, "Ain't this something?" So anyway, contacted them. Well, we're going to have to send it in. We're going to send you a packaging kit so you can package it up, and of course you got to make your own pallet. And so if you don't know woodwork, you better know somebody that does know woodwork, because when you send it in, they're not going to send you a pallet. Now, I'm sure you could take and harass them enough, maybe you might get one, but I'm going to say it's easier just to find a pallet and to send it in on. Anyway, I send it in. Well, I asked them what all they did to it, and of course they did whatever repair to the screen, and they said that the refrigerant level wasn't right, so they adjusted the refrigerant level. Now, I've never had a problem with my water batch being bad, it achieving the temperature or anything, but they said the refrigerant level wasn't right. So, and I don't know how they pay these technicians, if they get like when I worked on cars, if it was by what you did to it and you got so many hours or whatever time for it paid, so they figured they'd do some extra, which they'd figure was easy. But anyway, what happened was when they adjusted it, they overcharged it. So it came back. I told them wasn't cooling right. I run up the water bath, showed them it was only freezing up half of the chamber. It wasn't freezing the whole chamber because it had too much refrigerant and it wasn't getting a chance to vaporize before it got back. But anyway, so you know what we had to do was send it back in. So it went back in and they adjusted the refrigerant. They sent it back. But when they sent it back, it got damaged. Uh, Imagine that. So anyway, we ended up having to send it back to them. They was going to send the panels to replace. They say automatically send it back, and if it is damaged, yeah, tell them put it back on the truck and send it back and let them fix it. But anyway, what had happened is it got hit here, which bowed this front out of a line, which then they won't send you the front panel because everything's attached to it. And so anyway, it ended up having to be sent back in. And they got it. They fixed the front. They sent it back. You know, of course, they didn't do any tests on it because it supposedly was repaired. And come back and it wasn't cooling properly again. It was still only freezing half. And I said all they would have had to do was run a water bath after they did that. But apparently that was too much trouble. They want me to run one every time, but they wouldn't run one. So anyway, I ended up sending it back in again. And this time I told this was getting late in the season. I wasn't going to be able to run it anymore that year if it was very little. And so I said, hey, y'all done ruined my whole season. I mean, I'm sending this back and forth, back and forth. I'm not being able to use my machine. I said, y'all need to extend my warranty. I said, I've lost this whole year. And they said, oh, well, we'll do 6 months. I said, no. I said, we're not going to do that. I said, you'll do a full year. I said, if you do 6 months, I won't even be into harvest season and the warranty's going to run out. And then if I have a problem, what are we going to be looking at? Say I'm not going to, I'll have warranty, but I won't have the full warranty to cover. So anyway, they turned around and they give me a 1 year extended warranty. Now, this is where I'm telling you, you need to be firm with them about what you want. Don't just let them tell you what they're going to do because they'll tell you we're just going to do this. And I've worked at a dealership as a service manager and done warranty, and I know what it's capable of doing, and I know what as far as required. So they didn't want me to end up with some kind of litigation because this machine wasn't working. And that's what I told them. I said, under your warranty, you was obligated to repair my machine, and you haven't. You know, by the time I got it back, and I told them I wanted this extended warranty to start when I received my machine back, which it ended up being September. So that was when it was about 13 months old. And I told them, I said, you had for a year, your warranty said that you'd fix this machine during that 1 year warranty period, and you never did. I said, still got the same problem. But anyway, so I get this machine back. I have a full year warranty. I'm happy as far as how things are going to go. I started my season, start using it. And when it starts up, I don't know if you know what a compressor overload sounds like, but anyway, your compressor comes on, it runs for a few seconds, and then it clicks off. You can hear it click, and you hear it stop running, and then it's got to cool down because it's got a thermal limiter that keeps it from burning up. So once it draws too much juice for too long, it's like a circuit breaker. It cuts the circuit, and then when it cools down, it comes back on. Well, this was happening, and I called them up and I said, this compressor's cutting out. And they said, well, download the log files and stuff and send this in and run a water bath, you know, all this same things. And I did skip over some other stuff when I changed technicians because they were lying to me. But anyway, So I did that, sent it in, and the technician said everything was fine. I said, everything isn't fine. I said, the compressor is overloading. So I said, I took a video, and I said, I'll take a video that you can listen to what's going on. And then we can take and get this thing fixed. But anyway, I took a video, and you could hear it kick out, and then it'd take about almost a minute, and then it'd cool down enough, and it'd kick back in. It'd run for 2 or 3 seconds, and then kick out again. And I sent it to him. Well, he said something about, well, that there wasn't a problem. It didn't. The log files didn't show the compressor kicking off and this. So I said, give me your supervisor. Well, I got the supervisor. Had to set up appointment for her to call now. She calls and says she's looked over the log files and the compressor isn't kicking out. Well, no, the compressor engaged the whole time according to the machine, but the problem is that the thermal limiter is kicking it out. And I tried to explain this. I said, did you look at the video I sent the technician? She said no. And I said, by then I was done. I said, I'm fed up. I said, y'all are going to have to replace this machine. I said, I'm not being a Harvest Right technician anymore. Y'all are going to have to replace this machine. And I said, I want to talk to your supervisor. And then so anyway, she talked to him. She called me back. She set up a time for me to meet with him. But she said that he was not going to replace this machine. And I said, y'all are going to replace this machine. Like I say, reaffirm what your expectations are, because if you have a problem and they can't fix it, then they're required to fix it. Either they've got to refund your money or they've got to give you a replacement that's going to work. Well, whenever he replaced this, I talked to her supervisor, and he said, no, we're not going to replace it. I said, have you seen the video? And I explained what was going on. He said, no, could you send it to me? Well, you know, if the supervisor or the customer service was trying to work for the customer, then they'd have contacted the tech that had the video, and they would have got a copy of it and looked at it. They wouldn't have had the customer to go out of their way some more. But anyway, I sent it to him, and he looked at it, and he said, yes, we're going to have to, we're going to go ahead and replace it. And he said that we was going to replace it with a number one, I think a Class A Blim, which was one that they, for some reason, they didn't sell. It had some kind of blemish to it. And anyway, I said, that's fine. So they sent me this machine. I said that would be fine. But they told me my warranty is only going to be as good until this extended warranty run out, which was something I should have argued with, but I didn't. And anyway, they sent me this machine. And the day and I decided, I had this pump, the standard pump, but I decided while I was in there, they give me a special deal on the premium pump, reconditioned premium pump. So I went ahead and bought it, which was like $300 and something, which was actually a good deal. And I was going to change it out because this pump was so noisy. It just having to change the oil all the time in it and everything like that. So anyway, the day this machine was supposed to arrive, there was I got another email talking about they were sending my machine out. And I said, well, as a reminder, I hadn't ever, but anyway, it's a reminder. So anyway, my machine came that day. It was great. It was no dents, no nothing. And cranked it up. It's been working fine, and I'd say knock on wood, but I just say by the grace of God, it's not having any problems, and we've run it quite a bit. But anyway, the next week, I get a notification from FedEx that they're going to make a delivery. Then I go back and look at that email. And what they did was they shipped me another machine. He said when I sent mine in, he said, as soon as we get a notification that FedEx has yours, we're going to ship the other one out, because they don't trust their customer. You know, dishonest people don't trust other people because they think they're dishonest. That's just, to me, that's the way life is. So anyway, I sent mine in, and I contacted them. I said hadn't got any notification that the other one sent out. Oh, we're fixing to send it out. Well, it was like 7 days before they even sent that one out that they were supposed to. Oh, we're testing or this or that, but the supervisor I talked to said that it was ready to go. He had one in mind, and anyway, they finally shipped it. Well, then, while that one was on its way, they shipped another one, and the other one arrived. Well, I took, and I left it packaged up out in the shop. I knew that they'd shipped it by mistake, and I started using my new one, and it was working fine. And then I get a call from not the top supervisor, but the lady that was in between the technician and the top. And she says, well, how is that replacement unit working out? And I said, what are you talking about? Well, that other one that we shipped you, because we shipped you the wrong one first. Well, automatically she's lying to me. And now, if she'd have been up front and said, well, we messed up and we shipped you the wrong one, I would have considered, even though I had a really sour taste, I'd have considered maybe sending it back. But that wasn't what she did. She turned around and lied, and I started talking about, I said, oh, the one you shipped by mistake. No, because we told you, we were sending in this other, and that's where it's important to keep your emails and your logs, because then you have all the information. But anyway, I said, I don't believe I'm sending it back. I believe I'm keeping it. Now, you have to understand what the law is, and according to the Federal Trade Commission, that if a company ships you something by mistake or whatever reason, you are at no obligation to send it back to them, and you are at no obligation to pay for it. Now, this is the law, and if they try to collect or they threaten you with payment, they can actually be subject to a $50,000 fine. All you have to do is report them. Well, she said, well, you're going to have to send it back. And I said, well, no, I'm not going to. Well, anyway, I get a call later. They got to schedule all these other calls, but when they're trying to get their machine, they really dedicate a lot of time to it. Well, he called and he told me that, he said, if you're not going to send it back, we're going to have to invoice you for it, and then we're going to have to turn it over to credit. Well, I said, well, you should go ahead if you want, looking for be sued, because, and like I say, I just report you to the Federal Trade Commission, and went through all that. I said, it's, according to them, it's considered a gift. And he talked about, well, no, that was a warranty replacement. I said, no, it wasn't. The one that you sent me first was a warranty replacement. I said, there was nothing said about that other one being warranty or anything. So now I have a sour taste. And like I say, dealing with customer service, you have to be firm. You can't just go off and let them walk on you. But my tale, and I say God always takes care of me, but my tale was that I'd already ordered another pump, so I had it. They sent me another unit, so all I needed was a vacuum hose and a power cord, which were relatively inexpensive, about $50 with the two of them, and I had a complete machine. And I'm sure all of your stories aren't going to turn out that way. And of course, if you want to talk about what problems you had and how you dealt with them and positive outcomes and stuff, but if you just want to rant and be negative and cuss them, it's not going to be conducive to helping other people solve their problems. My whole video here is to help those that are having to deal with them and deal with them in a way that they have a positive outcome. And I have to say mine is positive. Even if one of my machines goes out, I have another one. So, and definitely they're not going to warranty the second one. I'm sure they shipped it, but I didn't pay for it, so I didn't pay for warranty. So if there's something goes wrong, I'm going to be having to figure it out and fix it myself, and not deal with the customer service on it. But anyway, that's what we're looking at. Now I'm going to go and I'm going to show you how to save your log files, and I'll probably put it up in the video somewhere else. And I do want to say that it is important to keep a cool head so you're not upset. You're paying attention to what they say. You're not fixated on one thing whenever you're getting that information. And if you record it, you can always go over it, and you can tell if they're being upfront or if they're just trying to give you that runaround. Okay, I'm here at the computer, and I've got my Harvestrite file open, and as you can see, I have an awful lot of stuff in this Harvestrite file. I take a lot of videos. I have them listed, the compressor cycling, and I have when I box them up and send them in, so they can't say it wasn't boxed up right. I've noted all these different things so that when it comes time, I'd have this information. And that's what you need to do. Not that you'll ever have to have it, but if you need to, you'll have it. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to stick in this USB drive that I took out there, and I don't know why it's got that on there, but we're going to get rid of that. Now this is the log file, and I'm going to show you this log file. And what this says is these are each one of these things, and there's the date when they're there. Some of these were before I got the unit, that it was done over there, and of course it tells the date it was modified, which is today, because that's the date we download them. But we can go down, and we can go down to even the last one batch that I run, and if I double click this, and you have to have Excel to read it, but you'll see what these log files look like. It tells you what's going on. It tells you what your vacuum is there, your temperature, all that stuff is in there. So that's what they're going to look at whenever they get them. Now we're going to close that out, and we're going to go back here to where we have this file. Now, if you was going to move this file into another folder and say this folder is marked for Harvestrite, all you'd do is you'd left click on this and hold it. You come down here, you would go over to here, and you would drop it wherever you wanted. If this was that would actually go in there, but I don't need it. But that's what I would do. I'd just let up off of that, and it will it'll go into that file then. So it's that easy to do, and it's as simple as that. Now we're going to go to another thing, and we're going to delete this off of here. And if you can't do this, you need to learn this. I don't care how old you are. You know, I'm in my mid-60s. I'm not really a computer expert, but I do know my way around enough. Now we're going to go to Harvestrite's website. Now, when you go to Harvestrite website, of course, you can register to win a freeze dryer if you don't have one, or even if you do have one. I always register. Maybe I'll get a third one. But you click up here on the right at customer support, and that's going to take you, well, it's supposed to. It's going to take you to customer support. And when you go down here to customer support, down here at the bottom, you're going to see software and manuals. And what you're going to do is click on that, and it's going to show you all these different things as far as download the latest software. Okay, you're going to download this. All you'd have to do is you'd have to click on that. It gives you a bunch of information, and you have to make sure that you have this particular one for the newer machines, the 5. It doesn't matter on that, but you want it to be newer than your one. I think mine was 24. So if you was going to download it, you would come down here and you would find the version that fits yours, whatever your second letter is there. And let's say you have a V54X. Okay, so you click on that. Now what's happening is it's up here and it's downloaded. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to just drop it over here. Well, I say I was going to drop it over there. Apparently I didn't. Let's go back over here. This is my downloads. Let's right click and let's see. I should be able to pull this down out of here. No, maybe I have to go to my download folder. Let's open up another folder. I want to try to get you to do this. Your downloads is right here. Here's your Harvestrite deal, because you go to your downloads. You just grab it. It's a zip file. Bring it down. Bring it over here and open it. Now, you can't install it as a zip file. You have to open it. So just right click it, and down here you would say extract all. You click that. And what we're going to do, the destination file is going to be you want it to go to the same file. So I'm going to go to Patriot, and we're going to say select that folder and extract. So it'll extract it over here. And this file here is the only file that you're interested in. You're not interested in any of this other, this text. That's just telling you what it is, and you don't need this anymore. If you ever need to go back for it, we're going to delete it. Well, what happened? I thought I deleted that. Yes. Okay. Now, when you plug this into your machine and you turn the power on, it's going to load this new firmware or software into your machine. And then once it's finished, it should show that the correct number, which was the number that you had downloaded. And you don't want to interrupt it in the middle of installation. So if it's going and it seems to pause or something, let it go until it downloads. But anyway, I hope that's helpful. Now I don't need this on here. I'm delete it, but and we'll just pull this USB out of here. We don't need it anymore. But I hope this is helpful, and I hope this video really gives you a lot of information. Now, I'm happy to answer questions, if it's something that I can help, with. Sometimes it's easy enough, but what I want you to do, and I always encourage people, because this channel is about simplifying things and doing things on your own. And mostly I do gardening, but I do preservation. And this is one of those things that I have some knowledge in, because I've had to deal with it. And I hope the knowledge that you gain from what I've had to deal with is helpful, so you can get some type of something to remedy your situation. And like I say, don't get upset. Upset isn't going to do any good. If you want to describe your situation in the comments for others, something that is helpful for them, we'll do that. But if you're just going to be negative and drama and stuff like that. Please just don't put it there, because if it's that way, and especially foul language, I'm just going to delete it. That's just the way I am. But anyway, I want to thank everybody that watched, and especially watched to the end. And if you want to see more videos like this and some of the other content that I put out, well, of course, just subscribe, hit that bell, select all, and give her a big thumbs up. And as always, I say, enjoy that gardening experience, and try to be self-sufficient.